She claims the Tory party's disastrous kamikaze budget that triggered chaos for millions was, her words, the happiest moment of her premiership.
But talking to our customers, they are rightly concerned because Russia in particular has got a very powerful cyber offensive capability, as many nations do.
Mr. Speaker, we live in probably more volatile world than we've lived in for many decades. It is absolutely crucial.
But in the budget, which was probably the toughest, I'm really pleased that we were able to put so much money into the National Health Service.
Have you ever rushed into a decision and regretted it later? We've all been there. But when it comes to appointing government ministers, the stakes are much higher. That's exactly what's happening with Keir Starmer and Poppy Gustafsson. Join us as we explore how this hasty appointment could affect you and millions of other Brits. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the videos. In the world of British politics, where every decision is scrutinized and every appointment dissected, Labour's latest move has raised more than a few eyebrows. The House of Lords Appointment Commission, the guardian of ministerial integrity, has been thrust into the spotlight. Their role? To ensure that those stepping into the corridors of power are up to the task. But what happens when this crucial process is rushed? Enter Poppy Gustafsson, Labour's choice for investment minister. In a move that's left political observers scratching their heads, the government has given Hollick a mere 48 hours to vet this high-profile appointment. Let that sink in for a moment. 2 days to dig into someone's background, unearth any potential skeletons, and give the all-clear for a position that could shape the nation's economic future. Now, you might be wondering, is this normal? Well, buckle up, because it's far from it.
But talking to our customers, they are rightly concerned because Russia in particular has got a very powerful cyber offensive capability, as many nations do.
But in the budget, which was probably the toughest, I'm really pleased that we were able to put so much money into the National Health Service. Really going to turn something around, you have to do the hard yards up front. Don't look at a tough decision and then leave it for a year or two. So we're doing the tough stuff.
Typically, the vetting process for UK ministers is a meticulous affair. We're talking weeks, sometimes even months, of rigorous background checks. It's a deep dive into a candidate's personal and professional life, leaving no stone unturned. After all, when you're entrusting someone with the reins of power, you want to be damn sure they're up to the task. But Labour seems to think they can fast-track this process. It's like trying to cram for an exam the night before. Sure, you might pass, but are you really getting the full picture? Experts are sounding the alarm, warning that this breakneck speed could lead to serious oversights. Imagine appointing someone to a top government post only to find out later they've got a closet full of controversies. It's a recipe for political disaster. This rush job raises some uncomfortable questions about Labour's priorities. Are they more concerned with filling seats quickly than ensuring they're filled responsibly? It's a gamble that could backfire spectacularly. After all, in politics, the perception is everything. And right now, the perception is that Labour is cutting corners where it matters most. The irony here is palpable. Labour, a party that's often championed transparency and accountability, is now facing accusations of sidestepping these very principles. It's a move that's left many questioning their commitment to good governance. Are they putting political expediency above proper oversight? The jury's still out, but the court of public opinion is already in session. While Labour scrambles to defend their vetting process, a far more explosive issue lurks beneath the surface. Poppy Gustafsson's professional past is intertwined with a man at the center of a multi-billion-dollar fraud case. Just how deep does this connection go, and what might it mean for her role as investment minister?
And it's capable of having a real-world impact. Great example of this was in 2016, where they plunged the capital of Ukraine into darkness.
She claims the Tory party's disastrous kamikaze budget that triggered chaos for millions was, her words, the happiest moment of her premiership.
So they are capable of spilling over that activity and having that impact. So It's customers that are looking after critical national infrastructure.
Enter Mike Lynch, a name that might not ring a bell for everyone, but in the world of corporate scandal, it's practically synonymous with controversy. Lynch, the founder of software company Autonomy, found himself at the heart of one of the most complex fraud cases in UK and US legal history. In 2022, he was found liable for financial fraud in the UK, only to be later cleared of multiple fraud charges by a US court. But the saga didn't end there. In a twist worthy of a Hollywood thriller, Lynch met his demise in a yachting accident off the coast of Sicily, just 2 months after his acquittals. So where does Poppy Gustafsson fit into this tangled web? As it turns out, she was a senior employee at Autonomy during the period of alleged fraud. Her name appeared numerous times in court proceedings related to Lynch's case, where she was listed as a witness. This raises some serious questions about her involvement and knowledge of the alleged fraudulent activities. Now, it's important to note that there have been no direct allegations of wrongdoing against Gustafsson herself. But in the world of politics, perception is often reality. The mere association with such a high-profile fraud case could cast a long shadow over her appointment as investment minister. Critics are already labeling Gustafsson's appointment a ticking time bomb, and it's not hard to see why. The potential conflicts of interest stemming from her ties to Lynch could undermine her credibility and effectiveness in her new role. After all, how can the public trust someone to oversee investment strategies when their judgment is called into question by their past professional associations? But let's not forget the broader context here. Labour's rush to appoint Gustafsson with minimal scrutiny involved has already raised eyebrows. Add to that her connection to a major fraud case, and you've got a recipe for political disaster. It's as if Labour is playing a high-stakes game of Jenga, pulling out blocks of due diligence and hoping the whole tower doesn't come crashing down. As the Gustafsson appointment saga unfolds, Starmer's rush to fill the investment minister role might prove to be a costly misstep. Labour's credibility hangs in the balance, with critics questioning the party's commitment to transparency and due diligence. The public's trust in government appointments is already fragile, and this hasty vetting process does little to restore faith in the system.
That are rightly worried. Energy supplies, water supplies, and the likes of that. Anything where there's a real physical consequence of that cyber attack.
Mr. Speaker, we live in probably more volatile world than we've lived in for many decades. It is absolutely crucial.
Oh, it's hard. I mean, governing is hard, and we inherited a lot of problems, an economy that was broken, NHS on its knees, and we've had to pick that up and deal with it.
But Starmer's troubles don't end there. His early support for Israel in the Gaza conflict has alienated key Labour constituencies. As George Feinstein, a challenger for Starmer's seat, points out, Labour's stance on Gaza doesn't address local issues like the housing crisis and NHS state. This disconnect could prove disastrous for Labour, particularly among Muslim and leftist communities who feel their concerns are being ignored. While Starmer juggles these crises, the clock keeps ticking on the Gustafsson appointment. As more details emerge, the public will be watching closely to see how Labour handles the mounting criticism. Will Starmer's gamble pay off, or will it be the final straw that breaks Labour's momentum? Only time will tell, but one thing's certain, the political landscape is shifting, and Starmer's next moves could make or break his leadership.